We are now halfway done, about to be more than halfway done with this $1,000 buy in over on Underdog in the Mastiff, $20,000 up top. We're going to break down our team. We're going to see who we draft next in rounds 9 and 10. Well, we might as well just get right into it, right? So I think the way to do this is we're just going to jump right into looking at our team and seeing who we drafted, if anything crazy has happened on the board, and what we're looking at. So we went Tony Pollard, Patrick Mahomes, Deebo Samuel, Breece Hall, George Kittle, J.K. Dobbins, Jahan Dotson, and Sky Moore. So we have a 1-3-3-1 build right now. We have an elite running back room with Pollard, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, elite QB, elite tight end, Mahomes, George Kittle. And then wide receiver is where we are lacking a little bit because we went Deebo Samuel early. We got Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore. If we're going to lack at wide receiver, I do like the week 17 correlation between Dotson and Deebo. We get the stack with Sky Moore. That all feels good. Let's take a look at the board and see if anything crazy happened after we decided to draft Dotson and Sky Moore. We see Evan Ingram go. He does not go to the Trevor Lawrence drafter. The Trevor Lawrence drafter from the one spot, stack-wise, is starting to draw a little thin over there. There's still some outs for him, but we do see Evan Ingram go in the 8th round, which is slightly interesting. Jameson Williams also goes in the 8th round before some guys that I probably wouldn't have taken him before, especially when, just people that are on the board here. But this team is going for the ultimate Dallas-Detroit stack. As we can see, they went CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs. They also grabbed David Montgomery, Brandon Cooks, Jameson Williams. So they are really putting their eggs into getting that Detroit-Dallas game through. Kind of like the idea, if you're going to get the team through on a 6 out of 12 advance rate, and you can get this team all the way to the finals, and you think Dallas-Detroit is going to be the high-scoring game, then you just have all the pieces to it. Not terrible at all. Might be a little hard to get through, but again, 6 out of 12, 3 out of 6, 2 out of 4. A little bit easier to get teams like that through in this structure. Anything else here that kind of jumps off the board? We see Pacheco, Cook, Kadarius Toney. Tua goes to the Jalen Waddle drafter. Then we see Kamara, Gibson, A.J. Dillon, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnson. We were kind of really hoping that one of these receivers fell back to us. The Burks, Sutton, Rashad Bateman. That would have been the absolute nuts. I would have loved for one of those 3 wide receivers to get back to us. Alas, they do not. We do see Michael Thomas and Odell Beckham go as well. And the other guy that I piqued my interest when I saw that he went was Khalil Herbert in the 9th round here. He is a guy I would have considered as we look at the board now. So the question is, what do we do with this 1-3-3-1 build that we have currently? Obviously, we need to be hitting wide receivers, but the question becomes, do we take a receiver here and a running back? And that way we can just make sure that we're only getting 5 running backs for sure after we start with elites like Pollard, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins? Or should we be going with double wide receiver? So let's start by looking at the running backs. I'm not taking Rashad Penny. It's just not a play I'm making in any draft. I don't want to do it in this one. I'm all set. I actually have more concerns after the weekend for him than I did before. Could be just leaning into my biases a bit for that, but I think I'm very concerned about Rashad Penny on the Eagles, so I'm going to avoid that. The 2 that I do find interesting, and I'm just going to click on the RB tab just to show everything that's here for transparency. The 2 that I'd be looking at here are obviously Charbonnet or Devon Achane. And Devon Achane really sets up nice for this team. It has bringbacks, albeit every single bringback for Devon Achane is our other running backs on this team, which is slightly interesting. And then there's Zach Charbonnet. We know that Seattle's going to want to run the ball. Charbonnet got a little bit of a dip for a minute. He's down in this 9th, 10th range area. He's only a little past ADP. I don't think he's actually an ADP value when he's usually going 106. We're picking 108. I don't think that matters too much for this particular pick. So I think if I were to do it, just because I don't think there's as much ambiguity and his clear path is just Kenneth Walker being hurt, it would be Zach Charbonnet that I take. But I am really intrigued by Devon Achane this year. So as you can tell with my ownership percentage to him in other tournaments. So those are the two running backs I'd be looking at. We're clearly not going to look at quarterback right now with Patrick Mahomes and some of these other needs that we have. And the other position is tight end, which I don't theoretically hate looking at right now, right? Because we do want to try to keep this to probably a 2 tight end build. And instead of punting that second tight end, maybe we just lock that up now and grab David Njoku. But I kind of feel like I can hold off a bit on that. So we're going to back pocket that, but I think that's going to probably not be the play. So then the question becomes, when we're so thin at wide receiver, who are we looking at on the board here? So we see Tyler Boyd, we see Nico Collins, and then we get into that Juju, Dobbs, Lazard, Zay Jones, Jacoby Myers range, which is relatively gross, right? Not really digging any of those wide receivers. I think that Tyler Boyd is a lock for this team. This was my first indication when I looked at this. Am I huge on Tyler Boyd this year? Not necessarily. I only have him 4% in other tournaments, but based on this build, we have the Mahomes Sky Moore stack. Tyler Boyd is a bring back to week 17, so we do like that as well. He is what I consider a lock. So the question then becomes, is Nico the other lock for this team? And I do like it. I do like Nico for this team. I do like what we've been seeing from him in training camp. Look, Houston's not going to be great. I don't think there's any pathways to Houston being a juggernaut offense. But perhaps, maybe, hopefully, Nico Collins can be a wide receiver, quote unquote, 1 on this team and get some production. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 in terms of overall league wide receiver 1, but the production we can get from him might be relatively good versus some of these other guys that we're looking at, like Juju Smith-Schuster, Romeo Doubs, Alan Lazard. I think Nico's pathway to getting 800-900 yards is probably better. Maybe not 1,000-yard receiver, catches a couple touchdowns, hits our lineup. We are going to have a volume of wide receivers. So a guy that can get into the lineup frequently, not someone we're going to be looking at to get into the lineup, 75% of the time. But if he can hit it 40, 50% of the time, that would be an extreme win there. So right now, those are the two guys I'm looking at. Let's just backtrack to running back. I do like Zach Charbonnet. I think there's some running backs we can get later that does the equivalent of what we'd be looking at for Zach Charbonnet. So I'm going to pass on that. Njoku becomes the interesting take to me here based on just locking up that tight end position and being completely done. I do think that would make it even more of a unique team. I think the problem with it is definitely the opportunity we're giving up with a Nico Collins, or hell, even one of the other running backs, to confirm that we're doing a 5 running back build. So I think I'd almost rather hold off on Njoku and just take these 2 wide receivers, Tyler Boyd, Nico Collins. Worst case scenario, if I don't get comfortable with tight ends, I do think there's a pathway to taking 3 still. It's not the way I really want to do it, but I do think there is a path for it. So I think we're going to do it. Let's go ahead. Let's grab Tyler Boyd. Let's woo-saw. Let's do a 3 seconds of Zen. Make sure that we want Nico Collins. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do Nico Collins. And sorry for that. That was weird, but we are playing with $1,000 team. So right now we have Patrick Mahomes, Tony Pollard, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Deebo Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Nico Collins, and George Kittle. And that is the roster through the first 10 rounds. What do you like about it? Do you like this team that we're drafting? Do you think we're going to be way too weak at wide receiver? Do you not like the volume wide receiver approach? Again, I implore you to remember that ADP is different in the Mastiff, and also advancement rates are different. I'm just going to go through it one more time. 6 out of 12 advance to the playoffs. Then we do 3 out of 6. Then we do 2 out of 4. And then we have the final week where all the money is. So remember that when you're analyzing every single team on this board, it is not quite the same as a BBM or other tournaments you're used to. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for me today. I am very excited to do this Mastiff, excited to see how it's shaking out. Can't wait to track it throughout the season, let you guys know some updates. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Peace. Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there, you can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.